Target made headlines this week because its earnings topped Wall Street's estimates. They had a strong holiday season as well as a strong January, possibly propped up by all the stimulus checks that were out there. And overall, their 2020 sales, Target's 2020 sales grew by more than $15 billion, which was greater than Target's total sales growth, for perspective, over the past 11 years. Now, with all that said, shares on Tuesday at Target also closed down almost 7% because Target, in their earnings release, also hinted at margin pressures for the year and also did not provide sale guidance to Wall Street. So there are a lot of questions on the investor side. I read the thing cover to cover, and I could see why. It was a very interesting earnings statement, to say the least. Now, question for you, though, Ann. We are going to start, like I said, this is going to be a great show. We're going to do our damnedest, and we're going to start right off the bat with A&M's put you on the spot question. And my personal opinion is that this is the hardest question that has ever been thrown our way. And so, Ann, I'm delightfully giving it to you.
I feel like this is just fitting with the week we've had. So let's bring it on.
It is, yeah, after 3 podcasts yesterday that we filmed back to back to back. But here is the question. Ann, what is your prediction for Target this year, especially in the back half of the year? What do you project in terms of school, back to school fall, in terms of customer behavior? Will apparel and accessories rebound? And is Target primed to be the winner? And given your thoughts, who else is primed to be a winner?
So I have a lot of thoughts around this.
Better you than me. This one's tough.
A&M, you are just bringing it every week with these questions, let me say. Here's the thing. I think I'm going to preface this by saying we are definitely not out of the woods. And I think that, yes, Target had a great year. Do I think that Target still holds a spot throughout the rest of the year, that they'll still do well? Yes, of course. They will consistently be open no matter what happens the rest of the year with the vaccines and things. They're a one-stop shop that makes things convenient. So, and it's affordable. It's great goods at a quality, affordable price. So will they continue to be a strong contender in the space? Without a doubt. Now, the problem for me is that there is still a lot of unknown this year. No matter who it is, the very best economists cannot predict what's going to happen this fall. It's not like this is just a downturn in the economy. This is something that's outside of everybody's control. This is a health-related issue that's outside of what, anything that's able to be predicted. So
you're saying it's too hard to predict. So you're saying, answering the question, you're saying it's too hard to predict. What does that mean for Target, though, if I push you on that front?
Okay, so here's the thing that I think it means for Target and for the retailers. So we talked about something in a clubhouse that I was in yesterday that's around this idea of revenge spending. So like in this K-shaped recovery, what are the wealthy people going to be revenge spending on, which honestly makes me want to vomit, because I think it's so careless about the 85% of the country that's getting stimulus checks and is trying to decide what to do with that money and how to survive and pay rent.
People are working in Hawaii right now too.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
It's already been revenge spending, but anyway.
So anyway, do I think revenge spending is going to happen at Target, though? This wealthy population, are they going to be staying, if things open back up, are they going to be putting money into Target? No, I think it's going to be on experiences. It's going to be on all the things that the wealthy people were prohibited from doing. The people that have the money were prohibited from doing. And I don't think that includes Target. So I think that needs to be part of figuring out this next strategy for them.
You don't believe it'll be at places like Target? Okay, interesting. Emma, what's your quick take here? And I just said a lot there. There's a lot to unpack there. Sounds like a really interesting Clubhouse conversation, by the way, too, which I'm still trying to figure Clubhouse, by the way, OmniTalk fans. Like, to me, it feels like Twitter for extroverts, and it feels like Twitter for a very specific part of the population, which is, I think, what Ann was alluding to there, too. It's going to still experiment with it, but still not sure what to make of that quite yet. But Emma, what are you thinking here as you look to the back half of the year? Maybe just talk retail in general, and then if you've got thoughts on Target, too. But
I think it all depends on if that vaccine if like more than half of the population gets vaccinated. Like, it is all kind of depending on that, whether we'll see people really going out and spending on things in these experiences. So for Target, I think Target probably won't do as well as they did this year and next year, but they're not slowing down. But yeah, I think, like, especially with back to school, I think it all depends on if everyone can get vaccinated and actually go back to school in person.
Yeah, interesting. I'm almost of the opinion actually that I think the vaccine schedule almost doesn't matter, because I feel like we've almost reached a new normal. And then I think the other piece that's hanging out there, which and I think is what you're alluding to a little bit too, once the vaccine does happen, I don't know that the mall-based retailers are any better off. I think that's the thing. I mean, we want to say like, oh, then everything's going to be great again. But as we've talked about and shared on social media, there's been a lot of deferrals in rent payments. I think what was the number, guys? Like 40 to 60 billions hanging out in rent deferments right now.
Mm-hmm.
We're not sure those business models are all still going to be strong when they come back. And so, who's there that's going to pick all of that up regardless? I still think it's Target. And I think what's the important lesson for me here in the pandemic is that the one-stop shop matters. If you look at the earnings report, they do allude to that. I actually thought their CFO, Michael Fidelki, did a great job talking about that. He articulated that very well. But what's still interesting, I think, fundamentally about that for Target and for investors, and Fidelki actually said a statement that I want to pull out because I think it's really interesting. And we have been talking about this on this show for years now. But he said, after a year of record growth, I want to start my remarks by expanding on a point that Brian Cornell, the CEO, mentioned earlier, because investors often want to know this: how much of Target's growth is being driven by specific strategies or specific assets? And I got to tell you, I don't even know that the delineation matters. So when A&M asks that question, the asset is clearly there, and that's the one-stop shop. And so if the malls continue to struggle, specialty continues to struggle, where else do you buy home furnishings right now, right? Your only options are online or maybe Target. Like, you're not going to Walmart for that. I mean, I ran that business. Like, we were really good at that. There's design. That's the option. That's the game in town. So I think it's still going to do well. But I think what people do need to be careful about, though, is not to oversubscribe the success, or subscribe, whatever the word is, the success that Target's been having fully to the strategies. Like, let's really piece that out. How much of it has been shared because other places have been closed, because there are no options to get anything else. Those companies have also been going out of business. What I didn't like about the earnings report was it really played up the things like the Disney partnership and the Apple partnership and the Ulta partnership that hasn't even started. And when you look at the store counts of all that stuff, that doesn't mean jack squat. And so I think it's something to watch, but I don't think you're going to see something slow down. And so the better question that really everyone needs to be asking is, what are the things that have really just enabled them to just reek all the juice out of the lemon in regard to what's been going on? And that's the omni-channel capabilities. And I can tell you, from having lived there and worked there, it's taken 10 years to do that, right? It was about refortifying the ecommerce foundation, doing everything you needed from an OMS and POS upgrade perspective. And it just so happened that all of that work was perfectly timed to the pandemic. So at some point that could come to an end. But really, when you look at reality strategically, I still think there's pretty strong cash flow that's going to come from this company because of who they are as a one-stop shop. And any final words there?
I think that was a great summary. I mean, the work that Target has been putting in has been going on for a very, very long time. And I think that that's important to call out here too.
Yeah. And I think it's really hard to see, but I don't know that it matters. Like, I love that Fidelki brought that up, because we brought up that same thing. Like, yeah, you're sitting at the blackjack table when the dealer busts. But the reason you capitalize it is because you're sitting at the table when the blackjack dealer busts. And that's an important thing to consider. Not everyone is, right?
Right.